Hello everyone and welcome to another SQL tutorial with Learn at Knowstar. Today we are going to take a look at some of the date functions in SQL, especially SQL Server. We are going to take a look at some of the important date functions like DateDiff, DateAdd, understand what can be the differences between them, and we are also going to answer the quiz question that we asked earlier, which used the DateAdd and DateDiff function for calculating the orders from the previous month. So we'll see whether those two queries, whether these functions can be used interchangeably and would these two queries return the same output. So I have these two queries written over here and we'll see whether they would be returning the same output or what would be the difference in the output. But before that, let's do a quick review of some important date functions. So we are going to start with the very basic date function that I think most of you would be aware of, which is the Getdate function, which is basically nothing but getting the current system date. So if you just do select get date, you're going to get the date, which is the current date along with the time. So this is the date time output that we have got. So simple function, if you want to get the current date, you can use the get date function. It can be used as an argument within the functions in the select query or wherever. Now moving on to the next important function, and this is an important function. It is called the DateAdd function. So you have a particular date and you want to add a number of days, or you want to add a number of months, you want to add a number of weeks, you want to add a number of years. So all that can be done using the DateAdd function. You can also add in increments of time, so seconds, nanoseconds, and so on. But the important thing here is how to use the DateAdd function. So simple syntax, select DateAdd. The first argument that you need to pass is in which terms you want to increment. So you want to increment by days or by years, by months, or anything. So let's say we want to increment by a day, and then you have to just provide the date on which you want the increment to be applied. So let's just say I want to increment on the current date, and by how many days you want to increment. So that is the middle argument which we just missed. So let's say I just want to increment by a day. So this is your simple DateAdd query in which you have said that you want to increase the current date's value by 1 day. So if I execute this query, I'm going to get the output as 18th of March, which is the next day. Now instead of this, I could do a month, which is going to increment this value by a month. So if I run this, I'm going to get the value as 17th of April, which is the same date the next month, and the time remains the same. So again, the output is the date time value. You can also increment by a year or a quarter or a week and so on. So all these things, we just need to understand how this function works, and the arguments can be provided as per your requirement. So you can see the output is 17th of March 2024, which is the date of the next year. So this is a simple usage of the DateAdd function. You can also use the DateAdd function if you want to go back in time. So now I want to find the same date last year, or I want to find days 2 days prior to the current date. So what we can do is we can again pass the interval as day, and the increment we can pass as a negative value. So I can say -2. So it is going to take me back by 2 days, and it's going to give me the date as 15th of March, which is 2 days from the current date, 2 days earlier than the current date. So this is a DateAdd function. The other important function is the DateDiff function. Now DateDiff function, as the name suggests, will provide you the difference in the interval you specify. So you want the difference in days, in weeks, in years, in months between two dates. So let's write that function and see what is the format and what the arguments that are needed. So we can see that the first argument is interval. So let's say I want the interval in day, starting date, and the ending date. So starting date, let's say, is today's date, and the ending date, let's give a date in the future, so 03/20. Okay, I want to find the difference in days between today's date and 20th of March 2023. If I run this query, I get the difference as 3. So it's a positive number. When it's in the future, when your end date is in the future, you will get the output as a positive difference. If this would have been, let's say, let's make it 0, 2, so that is a date which is previous to this, then the difference that you would get would be a negative number. So you can see it is minus 15. So it says, it implies that it was 15 days before today's date. Now here, same as in DateAdd, you can change the interval. So you can say what is the difference in week between these 2 days. So I'm just going to execute this, and it says -2, which means it is 2 weeks. The difference is 2 weeks. So whenever you're going to use this in your queries, you just need to be mindful of what you're putting as the start date and what you're putting as the end date. So this is the simple usage of the date difference function whenever you want to find the difference between two particular dates. Now there are 2 more important functions that we want to discuss before I go on to the quiz question. And those 2 functions are the DatePart function and the DateName function. So many times, because there are weekdays, there's a concept of weekdays and weekends, we need to calculate orders, or we need to calculate employee hours in the weekdays. We want to skip the weekends. We want to do calculations by a particular weekday, like a Monday or a Tuesday or so on. So it is important to know what particular weekday your day is falling on. This can also be used to find out what is your week number in the entire year, what is your quarter that is going on. So things like that you can find out by using 2 functions, DatePart and DateName. So first, let's use the DateName function and see. If we pass the interval, I'm just going to pass the interval as year, and I'm just going to say get date, and you'll see that it simply will give you the year. Now year is an integer value, so there's no description that can be given to it. It's a year value. Let's pass it as a quarter and see what we get in the output. So I get the quarter as 1. So this is the first quarter because this is March. Now I'm going to pass this as month, and I'm just going to see what it gives me as month. So it is going to give me March, which you can see is a textual description. So it didn't give me 3, it gave me March. And now I'm just going to pass the argument as day. So I'm passing the argument as day, and it gave me the day number. So 17 is the day number in this particular month, which is fine. Now what I want, one of the important ones is weekday. So if I pass weekday and execute, I get the output as Friday. So it tells me which day, which weekday is it. So this is Friday, 17th of March is a Friday. This is useful in many scenarios. So this way you can use it with these arguments. This function can be used in many scenarios, and I will list down a few scenarios. We have already written SQL queries based on these scenarios, so I will be listing down those examples in the description below. So do go to the description, and after each section I'll be listing a list of queries that fit on that function, and it will be a good idea to go through those queries, and you can, if you are not already aware, you can probably practice those queries, and it will help you understand more the concept and the application of these functions. Now there's another similar function, and it does a same thing, but it is called the DatePart function. So DatePart function, let's just go to year again and do it on get date. It does the same thing. It just provides the answer in a numeric fashion. So we had month and it gave us as March. I'm just going to pass month over here, and what we can get over here is 3. So it gives you the integer. The output is integer in this case, instead of being a varchar where it's a descriptive or textual value. Now if I just pass weekday over here, then it is going to give me the weekday as 6. So here this depends on what you have set as the first day of the week. The days of the week, there's 7 days in a week. They will be assigned values 1 to 7, and based on your system setting, there's a system variable called DateWas that sets the first day of the week. So the first day of the week, if it is Sunday, then all the way till Saturday would be your 7th day of the week, and so on. You can also change this setting. So you can just go set added date was equal to, you can set it from 1 to 7 and will change the setting of what would be the first day of the week for you. So again, this is an important function in various scenarios where you want to find out, do calculations by a particular day of the week, or you want to exclude weekends and so on. So these are some important functions. Now, another function that I want to quickly touch base upon is the end of month function. This is also a useful function, and again, the application is simple. What I want is the end date of the month. So you just need to pass the date value. So I'm just going to say get date over here, and I'm just going to execute this query, and you will see that the output I have got is 31st of March 2023. So it gives me the date, the end date of that particular month. Again, this is useful because sometimes when you're in March and you want to run a report only for data from February, then or maybe till some midday of February, from the 2nd of February till the end of February, this is a quick function that will give you the end of the month for that particular date. Now there's another interesting parameter that can be added to this function. So you can actually go ahead and find out the end date of the next month. So your current date is March, but for some calculation I need the end date of the last month, maybe for projected calculations. So what you can do, you can add the number of months over here. So you can say add 1 month to the current month, and then you give me the end date of that particular month. So if I execute this, you will see that the end date is 30th of April. Again, you can also go back. So -1, if you use the minus sign and execute, it will go back and you will get the correct date as 28th of February. So the end date of the previous month. So this is another function that is useful. Now going back to a quiz, I've got the queries over here. So these are the two queries. We just have created some sample data in this table called test orders. So I'm just going to execute this query real fast, and you will see there are 6 records in this table ranging from the 1st of February all the way till 17th of March, which is the current date. Now what we're trying to achieve in these queries is basically we are going to collect all the order date records which fall in the previous month. Now here the definition is important of the previous month. When you say previous month, what do you mean? Do you mean previous month as in the month previous to March, which is only the order dates falling in February? Or when you say previous month, do you mean the last 30 or 31 days? Do you mean the last orders from the 17th of February till the 17th of March, or 18th of February till the 17th of March? So that definition is important, and that is where the difference in the output will lie. So in the first select statement, what we have done is we have used the date difference function. We are saying that the date difference in month from the order date in these records and the get date. Okay, and the get date, so get date is a future value, you will see, should be less than or equal to 1. So I'm just going to execute this query, and you will see that the output gives me all the 6 records. Now why is this happening? Let's just take this and put it in the select query. And here we will be able to observe what exactly is happening. So I'm just going to run this query once again. And you will see what is happening is that the difference in month, we are just calculating the difference in month from the current date. So 17th of March and 1st of February. What is the difference in month? There's only 1 month's difference. That is what it is calculating. The date difference function is calculating the difference in month. It is just considering the month. It is irrespective of the date over here. It is just considering the month of the current date and the month of the order date and calculating the difference. So if it is the same month as March, you will see the difference is 0. If it is month prior to March, the difference is 1, and so on. So whatever are the orders which have a difference of less than 1, which means 1 or 0. So any orders which fell in the previous month till the orders falling in the current month, it is going to give you that value. Now in the case you only wanted the values for February, what you can say do is you can just say it is equal to 1, and now when you execute this, you will get the orders only for February. So that can be done. So you want only from the previous month, and you can go ahead and use this function as date difference. Now let's go to the other query. If you are trying to achieve this using this query, would this query work? So I'm just going to execute this first, and I will see that only 3 records have come over here. Now let's first understand what we're doing in this query. In this query, we are selecting the order date from this table. In the where clause, we are saying order date is greater than equal to date add month get date. So what we're doing is we are going back by 1 month from the current date. So when you're going back by 1 month from the current date, what is the value that you are getting? That is what we need to understand here. So again, I'm going to put this whole thing here in a select query and execute this over here. Okay, let's just not put the where clause to understand this better. So what is happening over here is the previous month, the date, which is 1 month from the current date, is coming as 17th of February. So 17th of March, it calculated the date, which is 1 month previous to this, which is 17th of February. It also took the date, the time part in consideration. So if your order date had a time value, that would have also made a difference. But just considering the date part, so 17th of February, any orders which are greater than or equal to 17th of February are what are coming in your output. So now I'm going to run the whole thing again, including the where clause. Okay, and what I see over here is that I get these 3 records in the output. Okay, 24th of February, starting from the 24th of February all the way till the 17th of February. But if I go back here, you will see that I also had a record for 17th of February, and if you're just matching the date part, it should match. But why it is not matching basically is because it also has a time component involved here when we are doing that, because we have used the Getdate function, which has a time part involved, and because order date does not have a time part involved, it is considering the time as 0000, and that's why considering, if you consider the date and the time together, then this is a greater time and it's not matching. Then 17th of February 2023, the order date, the time part is coming as 000000, so it is coming as a lesser date, and that's why it's not coming in your output. So we have to be mindful of all these things as well, that you're just considering the date part or you are considering the time part also, and so on. But basically the result is that these two outputs are not, these two queries are not going to give the same output. Why? Because the date difference function, it just calculates the month, the previous month. It does not worry about the current date. It just calculates the month from the current date and then goes back to the previous month. Whereas the DateAdd function, it actually goes back, considering the current date, it goes back to the same date in the previous month. So this is how they're different. So this is what we need to understand and what might be confusing in some scenarios, and why you should be using these functions. So I hope that this video was useful and it helped you understand the date functions a little bit better. I would also be putting down the links to all the date videos that we have done, all the date scenarios, calculating age and so on, and excluding weekends. So we have done a number of videos on that, and I will put them down in one place so it will be easier for you to access. If you did find the video useful, please do not forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, and we'll be posting many more videos soon. Thanks a lot for watching, and goodbye.